Alright, so here's a tutorial video on how to do the blanket stitch, except for when we're doing it for our closures, we don't call it the blanket stitch, but here's the closure we did in class. Let's see that. And here is our skirt hook. Alright, the main things that we want to look at for this closure stitch type, there's two of them. One is that we are trying to totally encase the metal in thread to make for a stronger hold. And then two, I don't know if you can see, but right on the outside of each of the stitches is a row of knots, little knots here. And those knots help us because if one or two or even 5 of them break, we still have all the other knots which are securing our thread. So that's why we do it that way. So I'm going to show you how this works. I've already started it. I'm already most of the way around here, but that's alright. You can even pretend that this is the very first time. So I've already come up from the middle and gone through my loop, so I'm actually now going down to the outside. So here I'm putting my needle from the front of the fabric to the back, so from the right side to the wrong side, and it's right next to this sort of loop of metal, okay? And I'm pulling down, and I'm going to leave a loop of thread. That's going to stay there, for right now anyway. The next thing I'm going to do is take my needle and I'm going to come up from the wrong side to the right side of the fabric, right through the inside portion of that little metal hole for our hook. And it's so close to the actual metal part that it's touching it. And I'm coming through, and then I actually go through this loop that I made and pull to the outside. Now, it's important that you pull to the outside, no matter where outside may be. When we're working over here, the outside's actually off this way. Because if you don't pull to the outside, those little knots that right now are sitting right here along the outside will sit on top. And we don't want them to sit on top. They get more friction on top. They make the hook not work as well if they're on top. So you definitely pull to the outside this way instead of pulling up. Right? Instead of pulling up this way, you definitely want to pull to the outside. So, I then go back into the fabric with my needle, right next to that little metal circle, leave a loop there, come up from the inside, right next to where my other stitch was, because I don't want there to be any metal showing from between my stitches, so I want to make them really close together. Through that loop and pull. Okay? And back down on the outside of the middle circle. Leave a thread loop. Come up on the inside of the middle circle right next to my last stitch. Go through my thread loop. Pull. And go back down into the fabric. And I'm going to do this all the way around. So, up, through thread loop, pull, down, leave thread loop. Up, through thread loop, pull, down. As you can see, as I'm working my way around the little circle of metal, I'm changing the direction that I'm pulling my thread once I pull it through the thread loop, because I'm pulling it out from the direction that my stitch is taking. So when I was right here, I was pulling the thread this direction, And now that I'm over here, I'm pulling the thread this direction. Again, that's so that we make that line of little knots right along the edge, so that they sit nice and flat. Alright, so this looks like it's probably the last little stitch I'll do. Alright, now we have this totally encased in thread. We don't see any metal at all. And then I'm just going to actually go all the way to the back. I'm not going to worry about leaving a loop. So, pulled all the way to the back. I'm on the back part. I'm going to do a very simple knot, not like the one that we normally do. I am going to go under some of the stitches that I made. Just like this. But I am not going to then go through this loop like we normally do to knot off. I'm actually just going to keep pulling through, so that it's nice and small and flat. We don't want a lot of big, gnarly knots back here. And what do? I come right over to these two circles now, and go through the first one from the center of the circle, go down on the outside, and again, my needle's actually touching the metal each time. That's how close it is. Leave that loop, just like that. Come up from the center again. Go through the loop, and pull, just like we've been doing. I'm going to do that all around here. When I get to right here, I'm going to cross over and come up out of this hole and go all the way around. And then once I get over here, I'm going to knot it off on the back like we normally do, where we go under some of our threads, make that loop, go through the loop, pull, go under some of the threads, make the loop, pull, just like we have on all the other closures. If you have any questions, please let me know. I hope this tutorial was